Yeah.
All righty. All right. I hope everyone is alive, alert, awake, and enthusiastic about life and living and ready to have a fantastic hour of learning and growing. I am Elizabeth Green, and I welcome you to Perfectly Imperfect, the show where we share tips, strategies, and resources to help you live your best life now. I welcome my co host, Karen Fern, up there in Canada. Is it cold up there in Canada?
Cold and snowing and just, yeah, dark. My husband shoveled the snow this morning out of the driveway, cleaned off the car, came back in to collect his coffee, and he stood at the door. He's like, I just took it out of the
Well, I guess this is January and you
car,
are
you know?
up north. I was just checking with Rebel and she said that no, this is not something that she is dealing with. It's nice and warm for her. It's still a little bit nippy here in Vegas, but hey, no snow. So let me count my blessings.
There you go.
All right. Today, what we are going to be talking about is starting a new series. And as I said, my goal with Perfectly Imperfect is to share different, both practical and spiritual tips that will help you live your best life now. And one of the books that in one of my lifetimes, it feels like it was a lifetime ago, I used to teach I did corporate training. And one of the books that we used was The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And one of the reasons I love working with leaders on this book is because it allowed me to share spiritual principles under the guise of leadership. So that is why I have decided to share it now, because even though I am mainly focused on helping people develop their spiritual nature, once you develop it, you've got to be able to take it out into life. And you've got to have practical means of doing it. I'm wondering, have you read the book before, Karen?
I have not read this book particularly. I listened to it on YouTube.
Okay.
Yes, so I haven't had the physical book, but I've listened to it. Yeah.
Well, I think that the 7 habits, whether you listen to the book, and I have to admit, the book is not that most interesting book. But it has a whole lot of meat in it.
Mhm.
For those people that are here with us now, have you read the book? If so, or are you familiar with the book? If so, just put a 1 down there so I'll know as we are going through the book.
Mhm.
Okay, Marcy, no.
Oh, never. Yeah, I think it's one of those that I was rebuilding my washroom. And so I think I was at the talent stage and I was feeling great about what I was doing. But then the book just dragged me down and I took it off. And it was you too. I turned it into Think and Grow Rich. I listened to Tony. I went over to Les. And they were more having me. I mean, I finished my washroom in less time than I planned because those guys had me going. Versus this book didn't do that much for me. And I can't even remember. So I'm glad you're doing it because I can't remember much about it.
Yeah, and I know that the book itself is somewhat dry, but the principles that are shared are very um
Okay.
uh,
All right,
uh,
Rebel, go do your thing.
yeah, are very, very practical principles and habits that can make a difference in your life. And that is why I decided to do it in a group setting, because as I pull out those areas that I think are really important and that you can incorporate in your life, and how they definitely make a difference when you're talking about creating your best life now. Uh, do a little bit of housekeeping. Welcome with joining us, Al. We're going to talk about it a little bit. You have any questions, those that are here now, just put a /Q and a space, and then send your questions as we go through. Today, what we're going to do is do an overview of the books, of the 7 habits. And then we'll take it week by week, looking at the different habits and how they can help us be more effective. You know, whether you are talking about being effective in your family, effective in your business, effective at work, these habits will make a big difference for you. So, housekeeping, again, I'm Elizabeth Green. I am an intuitive life coach. That means that I work with my guides and my angels to help you create the best life ever. I am also the founder of the Indigo Institute of Nevada. And welcome, since this is your first time to Blab. I am the founder of the Indigo Institute of Nevada. I work with indigos, and indigos are those highly sensitive, natural born leaders who are seeking to discover and achieve their purpose in life. And I help them to clarify their vision, and then also I help them to tap into their intuition so that they can recognize it, understand it, and know how to apply it. So that is what my main thing is about. And I think that 7 Habits of Highly Effective People can really help you to apply, along with your intuition, apply certain habits. And you know, a habit is something you do without thinking about it, you know?
It's second nature.
And, you know, they say that if you keep on doing what you've been doing, you'll keep on getting what you've been getting. And so what we're going to be looking at for the next several weeks is, are these habits that you have, and if not, are these habits that you want to incorporate? Know that you can, and let me put that link down here, you can get the PDF and be able to, I'll put it in here.
I think his name is Al. He was asking if you can tell about your experiment in this field.
My experience in which field? In corporate field? Well, give you a little bit of background on me. I taught for many years. I taught special education, and I left teaching and I went into the corporate world where I consulted and I managed a large team of about 20 people. And then from there, I started doing corporate training. And I have traveled all over the United States, up and through Canada, the UK, Puerto Rico, St. Thomas, before I decided that since my main theme was to do spiritual based things. And that is why I that's where I am right now, helping those. And if you're wondering if you're an indigo, you can go to my website, kelizabethgreen.com. Karen, can you put that down there in
Okay.
for me? And I do have a quiz there along with a short ebook that explains my view on what indigos are. Okay, so going back to the book, and if you have any other questions, Al, or anybody else that's here viewing it, just as Al did, /Q space. Al, have you read the book before? Well, I'll see his message in a minute, but we're going to be looking at the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. This is a book that used to be the mainstay of corporate America. They felt that all of their leaders should go through it because it would help them be more effective. And as I said, I loved it because it allowed me to teach spiritual principles in the corporate world. Okay. In the corporate world. So, and again, I gave you, all right. I'll remember that. I'm reading the comments for those who are listening to the replay. One of our guests who is here now was just letting me know that English is a second language. So I'll try to make sure I'm as clear as possible and not use words that tend to be that tend to be too abstract. And my co-host just put down there for Jihad.
It was Oz. I saw Oz before, so I think that's his name.
Who asked about, I'll admit to you, the book is not the most exciting book in the world, okay? So you can you can Google it. I will, in the replay, I will put it down in the links of where you can go to be able to download the book. You can also listen to it on YouTube. All right. So, and what Cubby is talking about in this book, and there's been a whole planner that has been developed around, and he does many different classes based on these 7 habits. The first 3 habits are interdependent. Independent, looking at self-mastery. Self-mastery. The next 3 are looking at interdependence, and then the last one is talking about sharpening the saw. And as today, as I said, we are going to be doing an overview. And again, you can see, Karen, why I like the book, because it first starts out with you. And if you're talking about making any change, we always talk about changing other folks, but you can't change other folks. You need to change yourself first. Now, just be yourself. I'm going to go over the 7 habits first. And let me do my overview, and then we'll have guests come in. So it's going to take me about 15-20 minutes to do the overview. If you have any questions as we go along, I'll feel free to type them in. And then once we, how can you change yourself? That's what we're going to talk about. That's what we are definitely going to talk about. The first habit in the 7 habits is talking about being proactive instead of reactive. Okay. All righty. Hopefully we'll get to that. How can you be proactive opposed to reactive? And that means that you first look at what's your circle of influence? What's important to you? Not what is important to everybody else. What's important to you? And once you know what's important to you, what your values are, then that's your circle of influence. What things do you value? And we talked about that when we first started. We talked about our first start at the show. We talked about, what are your values? What do you want? What do you base your life on? Your life does not need to be based. Many times we base our life on our parents, what they think. We base it on our family, on where we were raised or how we were raised. But what Covey says, in order to be proactive, you need to look at the things that you can control. And you only control your own thinking. You can't control anybody else, opposed to your circle of concern, what everybody else is doing. If you're bouncing around and not working on yourself and what you value, you'll find yourself running around in a circle, whether you're talking about with your family, whether you're talking about with your friends, at work, or if your business. You have to first decide and know, what things can I control? Don't you want to be proactive opposed to reactive? We want to take responsibility. And if you break down the word responsibility, it is your ability to respond to the things that happen to you. Agree?
Very nice. Very nice, yeah.
You know, those things that we can take action on. So often, like I said, in the corporate world, I go in to do corporate training, and I did a lot of conflict resolution. And everybody, you know, whenever you have a conflict, there are two people. And you know, when you have a conflict, many people want to point the finger at the other person. They're the problem. Well, I always, and I still believe that, is that you need to look at yourself first. What are you doing that is creating the problem? So the first step is looking at the things which we can control. And it's our circle of influence. It is learning to be proactive opposed to reactive. Second habit is begin with the end in mind. Sounds like we've heard this before, right, Karen?
Oh, yeah.
Begin with the end in mind. If you don't know what you want out of things, where you're going, it makes it very hard to plan to get there. You know, that's why I asked, what do you want? It's learning to visualize what you want. One of the things that Covey puts in the book and suggests is to close your eyes and think about, what do you want people? Now, he's talking about your overall life, but I think you can break that down into small pieces. But what would you want people to say about you, Karen? If you went into your funeral, visualize yourself sitting in the back of the room. Not that this is a pleasant idea to think about, but if you were sitting in the back of the room and they were doing your eulogy, what would you want people to say about you?
It's funny because I've pictured this for myself before, so it's not such a topic of
Okay.
that I can't talk about. And for me, I would want people to talk about how caring I was. I think that was used to always be the front of my mind, and it still is. And in whatever way, I'd help them to get to wherever they wanted to be. And that's overall, whether it's my family or friends or whoever. I think that's really the bottom line of it. It's not, money. It's not that sort of thing. It's really, was I a caring, was I a kind, I used to call myself before this part of coach, I used to call myself a kindness coach, because that's really where I've seen myself. That's just really where I've always been. I'm a giver. I'm a helper. I'm a person who have always reached out and reached people wherever they are. So, yeah, that would be it.
Okay. Now, a question that we got is it the people's opinion that's a criteria? No, it's not other people's opinion. It is working your life to do, what do you want to accomplish? I'd like people to say that I helped them. I would like people to say that I was a caring, giving, supportive person, that I was willing to share and support them in creating their best life ever. That is what I would want to hear people say. I would want them to say that it made a difference, that I was there. I know that when I taught, one of the things that was really, that had the most impact on me, I had a young man who, when I first got him, started working with him. Pardon me?
I was saying hi, Muhammad. I think that's his name. Okay. Somebody just came, yeah.
Okay. One of the things that, when I first started working with him, he was way behind as far as school was concerned. He was at least about 4 to 5 years behind where he should have been as far as people of his age group. Well, in working with him for about 3 years, by the time he graduated from our elementary school, we go from 1st to 8th grade, he had achieved and reached the level that he should have been on. And his mother told me that she was thanking me for helping him and assisting him to get to this point. And the one thing that she said was that really warmed my heart and kept me going, was that I believed in him. And he needed somebody else to believe in him, believe that he could. And by doing that, that made a big difference in his life. So that is that I would love to have that. But beginning with the end in mind, not going all the way to our funeral, if we're starting a business, what do you visualize your business being like? If you're working in the corporate world and you are managing, what would you like your team to look like? If you with your family and you're raising kids, what would you like? Start with the end in mind. If you have a good picture in your head as to what you would like to achieve, that helps you to put those plans into place. Like Karen works, does a show on Thursday that does financial things. And you say that all the time. Know what you want to, what is your financial goal? Start with the end in mind. If you know in your head first what you want to achieve, it makes it much easier for you to set, and then you look at where you are, where you want to go. It makes it a whole lot easier to set a plan that you know that you will accomplish if you start with the end in mind. Okay? So envision what you want in the future so you can work and plan toward it. Third habit is to put first things first. You know, put first things first. And Covey talks about this as far as planning, you know, when you're planning things, and especially as far as leaders, put first things first. And he has you break it down to a quadrant of 4 things. He says, there are those things that we do in life that are important and urgent. They're important as far as how effective you are, and they're urgent. You got to get it done. You got to get it done. What would some of those things be in your own business that are important and urgent, Karen?
Oh boy, right now it's social media. But I'll go back even further, because today I was helping somebody on Facebook, and you know, we're feeling down, and we all go through these stages where things are not where we want it to be, or maybe we haven't even started yet. And I was saying to the girl, you know, when I had my last son, and I've got 3 kids, I knew I wasn't going to go back to work. And so I was on my 3 months maternity leave, and Canada was just about to put in the 1 year. But I had the baby in April, and I think it went into place either May or June. So I missed out by just a month or 2. And, you know, while I was in my job, I started planning with a friend on the things that I want to do, what I'm not going to do anymore. And, you know, she keeps saying to me, Karen, just apply for another job and just get yourself, just apply for another job and just make sure that you get yourself situated, because if it doesn't work out for 3 months, you know, you can get the job, you can come back in. And I said, you know, no, that's not what I want to do. So the things that I put in place, a friend had asked me about opening a daycare. And I'm saying this to say the first thing we put in place is how are we going to get kids? That's our clients. The parents are our client, but the kids is, you know, we need. And how are we going to do it? And, you know, we came up with a whole bunch of things. And money, even though we both had money that we could put into advertising, one of the big goals for us was we had to pay rent for the space, and we had to furnish the place. And we have to get somebody to design the space. Lucky for us, I could design the space, so we didn't have to pay for that. But we had to pay for the other things. So because I'm a numbers girl, I thought, how could we advertise without money? And the minute we put it in place and we went out and get it done, we saw success. And I think the hardest part, I think the hardest part, thanks for joining us today. The hardest part was realizing that, and I'm sitting there and thinking about it, when you start a business and you need income right away, when you need things to come in right away, if you put that energy into, take that fear energy, because that's what happens. Fear energy comes up. Take the fear energy and transfer it into the energy of how I'm going to get this done. Every single day, find out, how can I get this done? He's asking. She's here every Tuesday at this time, and I am on Thursdays at this time. So twice a week you'll find us. Yeah, and so we hit the ground running because we knew where our monies had to go. And so therefore, but before we were ready for open, we had 6 people prepaid. And by the time we were open, we were filled. But that's because we took because even though we never realized it was coming fear energy, it probably was, knowing that I was not going back to work and she was not going back to work. We took that energy and put it into establishing and getting our business off the ground. So if we're thinking from a point of view of, I want to start a business, here's the 3 things I'm going to do. I have to get clients, because without clients, I have no business. So how do I get clients? Write down 3 things that's going to make you get clients, and go after those 3 things like your life depends on it, because it does. Fill those slots in and just keep working away at the other things, because other things is going to come up, but just keep working at them.
Okay. And that would be something that would be important and it would be urgent. Thanks, Walter. Um, let me go over all four of the quadrants.
Yes.
The first quadrant are those things that are important, urgent. Everybody needs to work in those things. Those are those things that it's important that you feed your kids, and when they come home, it's urgent as far as they're concerned. Just taking a family thing, you've got to take care of that. Then you have those things that are not urgent, but they are important. Those are planning things. Those are those things like making sure you have your goals set. Those are those things, nobody's going to force you to set your goals. Nobody's going to make you do those. Those are things, and because they're not urgent, they're not on the top of your list.
Right.
And then the third quadrant are those things that are not important, but they are urgent. I used to say in business, those were those people who kept coming to you. I mean, you're probably in your cleaning business running, Karen. Where you're always putting out a fire.
Yeah.
Yes. They're urgent as far as they're concerned, but they're not all of that important as far as how you are really using your time. And then you have those things that are not important, not urgent. Watching TV.
Let me plug all this out of the line, Elizabeth, because I don't want to ring at any recording. Let me plug that out of the line out.
Okay. So there are four quadrants when you're talking about putting first things first. It is those things that are important and they're urgent. Can't get away from doing those. Then you have those things that are important, but they're not urgent. That's that planning phase. Nobody's going to make you sit down and plan.
But tedious kind of work that must be done.
And then you have those things that are not important, but they're urgent. It's when you're running around helter skelter. And then you have those things that are not important, not urgent. What Covey says is that you should spend 80% of your time in those things that are not urgent, but are important. Because if you have a clear idea as to where you are going, if you've taken time to plan, you won't have those many things that are urgent. And especially with leadership, with delegation. We talked about delegation last week, that when we learn how to delegate, we're not running around in a circle. We're always putting out fire. And nobody has to tell us not to spend time in not important, not urgent things. Those things that are just wasting our time. So if you put first things first, you can be more effective. Now, those are all the things that you control. That you control. Then we move into the fourth habit, and the fourth habit is think win-win. Think win-win. Now, that, especially when I was going and doing leadership training, think win-win, wait a minute. I want to set it up so that both of us, especially when we're talking about being effective, I want to set it up so that we both are winning. That it's not I win, you lose, I win. We can get to the point that we think win-win. He says here, genuine feelings for mutual beneficial solutions or agreement. Whether you're talking about family, whether you're talking about business, Whether you're talking about a personal relationship, how can we, and that's why many people run into personal
Yep.
relationships, because everybody is trying to prove that they're right. Well, do you have to prove that you're right? If you can set it up that it is win-win and not win-lose or lose-win or lose-lose. If you think win-win, you're looking at the long term.
Long term.
Okay. Okay. The fifth habit, remember, now we're looking at working with other people, because I don't care who we are, we're always working with somebody else.
Exactly. So what was number one? Because I write it down here. And then
the first one is be proactive.
Okay.
The second habit is begin with the end in mind.
Be proactive. And then number two
is begin with the end in mind.
Okay. Funny thing.
The third habit is to put first things first. Put the planning up first, and you won't spend a lot of time running around in the circle chasing your own tail. Okay.
And I guess it's number four. Think win-win. It was number four, right?
Correct.
Okay.
And then the fifth habit is seek first to understand, then be understood. Think first to understand, then be understood. And this is one that I use so much when I was working with families, with businesses. So often we just want people to hear us, just hear us, opposed to seek to understand where the other person is coming from before you share where you're coming from.
So think first to understand.
And then seek first to understand, then be understood. This is talking about learning to listen, to genuinely listen to the person before you try to force them to hear you. He gives an example in the book about working with his son and wanting his son to do something. And he had a chore that he wanted his son to do. And excuse me, he had a chore he wanted his son to do. And he was just coming at his son, do this, do this, do this, do this. And his son finally said, Dad, and was very exasperated. And Covey said that he had to step back for a minute and say, am I actually hearing why he can't do this? Seek to understand before you are understood. And he said when he stepped back a minute and heard what his son had on his plate, then he could explain why he wanted this to be done. But it changed how he delivered it when he sought to understand where the other person was coming from. And I think that that's so critical in any relationship that we have with people, to seek first to understand where they're coming from.
Hi, Elizabeth.
Before we want them to understand us. And then the sixth habit is synergy or energy that happens when you have a team of people working together. Be that team your family, be that team in a office environment, be that team in a business setting. One of the reasons why I like group training is the synergy or energy that happens when everybody is working together. I may be the facilitator, but I learn so much when I am looking at the synergy of how we can work together, okay, to achieve a common goal. It's always amazing to me. And that's one of the reasons I like Blab, because Blab is like allowing us to use synergy. Because each and every time that we have a discussion, and we'll be opening up the room for people who want to come in, each and every time we have a discussion, I learn just as much as the information that I'm sharing, because it's the synergy. And they talk about, and then we take it to the spiritual level. When two or more gather together, there shall I be. We're talking about the mastermind is there with us when we are joining together. And the last habit is sharpen the saw. You always want to look at finding something new, to always go back and re-energize yourself. Learn to sharpen the saw. I'm a lifelong learner. Lifelong learner. My son was talking, expanding your mind. Expanding your mind. I'm always looking at developing new habits. My son said, "Well, I thought you were retired." I said, "No, baby boy, I'm always learning." He said, "Well, you can sit back." I said, "Well, what would I do just sitting back? I'm always looking to sharpen the saw. As long as I'm on this planet, I'm looking to sharpen the saw." And I think about, I have a 90-year-old aunt who will watch our shows, and she's learned how to use Facebook. She's learning how to use the computer, and she's always looking at sharpening the saw. How can she get better? She may be 90, but that doesn't mean that she is finished. She said, as long as I'm here on the planet, I'm looking for something new that I can do. So if you can get these habits under your belt, you will find that you are more effective. Now, I went through that really fast, but if anybody would like to jump into the seat and ask any questions or talk about it with us, come on, Walter. And Elizabeth, you're welcome to come too. Hi, Walter. How are you doing?
Okay. How are you?
Doing well. Have you read The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People?
Many years ago.
Okay.
So first of all, you reminded me that it exists. Where it is amongst all the books, I'm not sure. And I find
Hi, Daniel.
like a movie that I watch, right?
Mm-hmm.
I may not remember it exactly what happened if you just said the title of such and such a movie. Once I start watching it, then I remember it. When you start putting the points down, I remember vaguely what's there. And what's the end goal for anyone? Just for example, I want to ask you, let's say, if you have an end goal, Elizabeth or Karen, tell me what's the end goal for you, and then I can talk about mine if I have one, if I think I have something. But when I'm an artist, so I always come up with something new, because no matter how much end I can get to, I never want to retire. By the way, you can tell your son that.
Same here. And I've got several end goals, but one of my big end goals at the moment is making my coaching business I'm doing. Also, a part of it is going to be a school. Well, it's starting. Not going to be. It is in the works. I'm doing it, where people can go and take courses, and it could be from the simplest things to or just starting a business within a business. There's just so many different angles that I'm looking at and I've established. So for me, it's ongoing. Because the more I learn, the more I get to share, the more I get to teach. So yeah, no retirement here.
So is this school
Hi,
online?
Steve. Yeah, it's going to be online. It's totally online. Yes.
So you already started. You got a name. You get a website address, and then you get a little page and describe the school, and then ask for people. You can actually sign up people now for whatever courses that you're going. Ask them what kind of courses they want to study, and then you'd actually find out what your customers want, because they're your customers, right?
Of course. I've got the domain and everything. So yeah, go ahead, Elizabeth.
No, Elizabeth's waiting to talk. I mean, she maybe wait till come in, but she was waiting to come talk. Go ahead.
I'm. That is one nice thing about Blab is I'm learning to wait and be patient and not talk over people.
Well, I'll tell you something. The slower you go, the faster you get to where you want to be.
That's so right.
Because if you're enjoying where you are, you don't have to go anywhere.
Okay.
Like if you got someone in your living room and they're all comfortable, you have tea and you want to talk to them and you like them, so why do you have to rush them out,
Because I got to go to bed. Leave.
Where do you live? You got to go to bed now?
But you asked the question, what is my end goal? My end goal is to make a difference in the lives of other people, to not have others go through a lot of the ups and downs. Well, not so much ups, but many of the downs and pitfalls that I had to go through because I didn't know. And one of the things that I have done is to establish a Indigo Institute of Nevada is to help other people. I don't know if you were here when I said it. What started me on my journey many years ago was to discover why I saw, felt, and heard things that other people didn't. Even though we're talking about the 7 habits of highly effective people, of which is a leadership book, which I have shared with many different groups, I have been very spiritual based. Being an intuitive for me created many problems, being able to perceive things that others didn't. And so my end goal is to set up a way that people like me, and I believe that there are many, I call them indigos, and you can always go to my website, K. Elizabeth Green, to look at those traits and things. But I believe that there are many other people that are like me who feel committed to making a difference on this world, who have had many challenges by seeing, feeling, and hearing things that other people didn't. People say that you are nuts, you're crazy, that's not real. And I know that it is. And so my end goal is to establish a school, which I have, the Indigo Institute of Nevada, but to really get the message out and to help other people that are searching like I was, not to have to go through that isolation that I did. And that's, the 7 habits of highly effective people is how do you take this intuitive ability and bring it down into practical ways of sharing it. So that's my end goal. What about yourself, Walter?
Well, I want to ask you a question first about what you're talking about.
Okay.
Did you find that you have found value in those ups and downs by experiencing them? Because in a sense, I had this flash when you were talking about it, about do you want to remove the enjoyment of actually living their life
Oh, no, I don't think that I can remove that, but I think I can make it easier. I don't think that the downs have to be as down as mine were. I my
Well, everyone feels like that when they're in their down. Everyone feels like that when they're in their down.
no, but I felt an isolation, and my goal is to create a community where people can easily get that information, that they don't feel isolated. That is part of my purpose, to make sure that I'm assisting them in or providing the information, resources, and a place. If you want help, you can find it. When I first started on my journey, and I'm besides a lifelong learner, I am an avid reader. You see a few of my books here. All the rest of my walls are covered with books. When I first started my journey, my search, there were maybe I would say 20 books out there about it, about being intuitive, and they were all under the title of being the occult, which, played into what I was hearing, that this was a negative thing. And I recognize that it's not negative. Now you can hear it. People are talking about The Secret, the law of attraction. And when I say intuition, people don't roll their eyes. There used to be a time that I said I was an intuitive. You know how people do this? They look out of one eye like, okay, girl, it's time to leave. All right. But I can say it now, and there are many other people. And what I have discovered is that there are a lot of other people that would like to tap into their intuition, but they just don't know how. And so I am firmly committed as providing the resources and training to help them tap into their intuition. How you use your intuition is up to you. Again, just like with the 7 habits, the first 3 are internal, but you've got to know that you can go in and trust that internal thing. And then how you use it is up to you. Do what you do and do no harm. I'm not going to direct you. Now, what about you, Walter?
Let me see. I started creating art and photographing 1958, so 58 years ago.
Okay.
So I suppose part of what I wanted to do is to become the richest man in the world. And I figured out how to do that, and this was simply to follow this thing I found on the Chinese, the fortune cookie thing. I can find it down somewhere. It's like a magician's card trick to find it. Oh, nope, not here. Anyway, it says something about in this world, it's what you give up, not what you take, that makes you rich.
Okay.
So I have 350,000 images on my art site.
Okay.
And so everyone in the world can look at them free.
Okay.
Gain whatever value they want from looking at it. And that's part of the dilemma of an artist, because in order for anyone to even think of buying it, they have to be able to see it. So you have to show them. It's not like I have a course, and if you want to find out the information, you got to pay me $50 or $50,000, and then I'll start giving you the course. But art is right out there. There's no way around it, whether it's music or dance or fine art. So it's there. There's 350,000 images, and I have 200,000 images on my computer, which when I put them up, you can see them, but it takes time to put them up. So that's the next thing. So I consider myself the most richest man in the world because I'm giving more than anyone. Like I left an article there on that side thing.
Yep, I saw it, and I'll check it out.
Right. So when you read it in your own good time, if you want, you don't have to do anything. And if you want to look at my art, you can look at it. But basically, it's there for anyone who has the ability to go on the internet and who wants to look at it. And some people say, well, I can't look at 350,000 images. Well, look at 5 at a time or 1 at a time, today, tomorrow, the rest of your life. What else can I say?
Okay.
What you do with it. Now, I made an article just yesterday, and this other article's been there for a while, but I made an article yesterday is what you can do with art, because that's a question that people might have is why is this important? Why would I even bother spending time looking at it, right? So I made a whole list of things that you can do with art.
Yeah, well, I think that is talking about you have a clear idea going back to the 7 habits of highly effective people. You started with the end in mind.
Right.
You have an idea as to what you want to accomplish. And as I see our time, not to cut you off, Walter, but one of the things that why we are looking at the books, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, is that there are habits that, remember, a habit is something you do over and over again without thinking. And if you do the same thing that you've been doing, you're going to get the same thing you've been getting. And so what we want to do, and what I want to encourage people to do, is to take a look at, are the habits that you have right now helping you to be as effective as possible? What I have discovered and what I'm sharing today is that the 7 habits of highly effective people can help you to be more effective. When you look first, like I said, the first 3 habits are: be proactive. Know where your value is. Know what you can control. If you know that, then you can begin with the end in mind. You can have a clear idea as to what you want to accomplish. Put first things first.
Yeah, I had to create the art first, and now I share it with people. And I've been giving out my business cards on the street of Manhattan since 1976. I've given out over 5.5 million cards with pictures, but before that I did business cards without pictures. So that's my way of marketing at the least expensive cost, and also something that's more tangible and lasts longer. In other words, if I've given out a card, any one of the cards, to a person, and they've held on to it sometimes for 12 years in a dresser on their refrigerator or whatever, and then called me for a job or looked at my art, then I know that works. That's real effective.
Yeah.
If I do something online, even if they see me and I pay for them to click or something like that, they can easily forget it. Whereas if I give them a card, physical card, they can hold on to it.
And so that tells me what you did was you looked at things that were important, but not urgent. It wasn't urgent that you got these cards out, but it has turned out to be very important as far as getting you business. You put first things first. And then remember that our 4th habit is think win-win. How can we both be able to win? The person who buys your art and you, the artist, who receive the money. You're thinking win-win. What's the way? Because you're sharing your art, but with the card, it's also a win for the person because they're getting to see that works. They're getting to enjoy the beauty.
Well, there's another story. There's another part of that story very quickly. When I first started giving out my business cards, this one.
Okay, as you pull it out, let me hit the 5th habit.
I'm fast. Okay.
Okay.
So the first one was my card for photography. Didn't even have a website. We didn't have a website back then. It was just a phone number and an address. When I first started giving it to people who were like business people, like real estate agents and people like that, they would say, "Oh, we don't do that. We're not do that in the industry." Now they come to me because Now they do that. See, so I was thinking beforehand, and I was telling them if they were smart enough that this is going to be the thing, how to get people to remember you. You sell yourself, and that's what I would ask a lot of salespeople before. They said you sell yourself, so that's why I put my self portrait on there, because that was myself.
Yeah, think win-win. And I did the same thing. All of my business cards in the past have had my picture on it, because when people saw me lecturing, they may not remember my name, but they'll remember my face. Mm-hmm. And when they went back to think about, well, who was that person? Oh, let me look at that face. And then they would come to me. Fifth habit, seek first to understand, then be understood, and then the synergy or energy that happens when two or more people are gathered together. And I like that one because it's so close to the spiritual habit of, hey, two or more people are together, the mastermind is there and there to help us. And then remember to sharpen the saw. And that's what we're doing today. Like you said, you read the book many, many years ago, and me too. I've been out of the corporate training for over 5 years. But when I started asking, what is a good book to be able to share, good information for people to be more effective, that's what came back. And so we always want to sharpen the saw. We always want to look at how do we balance and renew our resources and renew ourselves.
Even better yet now, I would think to look at either YouTube to see if that book is on there.
It is.
Even explanation, or Audible, because I can't spend time reading when I'm working.
It's on YouTube. It's on YouTube.
So I listen to books and stuff, and that's good.
Yeah, and it is on YouTube. Now, I will warn everybody that Covey is not the most interesting and exciting author. Okay, but he does have some very, very, very good points. And what we're going to be doing over the next several weeks is I'm going to go through each habit. And I'd love for you, everybody on replay and people that are here, to go ahead, download the book, get you a copy of it and read it. But I understand if you can't get through it, like Karen said, whoa, this is dull.
What I'm going to listen, because I listen to YouTubes and books, so I'll go have a listen. Since it's going to be a series, we got to get this, I'm reading 3 books at once at the moment, so I'm going to have to do some listening with that.
So what I'm going to do is highlight those points that I know have made a difference. I'm going to highlight how you can use it not only in business, your personal life, your relationship with friends. How can you use this to make a difference? And because I truly believe that the more effective you are, as opposed to just being efficient, running around in a circle, just getting things done. If you have a clear idea as to what you want to accomplish, and you put first things first, you will achieve a win-win attitude and continue on. So I encourage you to join us in the conversation. I encourage people who are listening to replay. And yes, my time is back. Just a reminder, instead of being Tuesday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, I am now at 12:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 3:30 Eastern Time, okay? And if anybody has any questions, would like to follow up on anything that I have talked about, you can always go to my Facebook page, and I'd love you to go to my Facebook page and like it. Go to my website, which is kelizabethgreen.com. And as I said, you can type in, find out if you are an indigo, if you are running into some of the same concerns as I have. Elizabeth, you've stayed with us for the entire time. Did you have any questions before I sign off? Okay. We are just signing off, my friend that just came in. Thank you so much. I hope you picked up something. Hi, yeah, we're just signing off. This is just an hour show. We've already gotten to the end of it, way past it. Which,
just 7 minutes, just 7. We're good.
Yeah. Well, my 90-year-old one, like I said.
Just 7 minutes, Auntie, just 7.
Well, remind me that I have gone over the time, and I really thank you all that are listening to the replay, and those of you who are here in the room and that have stayed in the room with us. I hope that you've gotten a good overview and you feel that this is something that you will want to continue on and learn more about. Okay, so I'm going to leave you with my favorite poem, which is Don't Quit, because I do believe you can have, do, be anything you want in life, that you can live your best life now, and you just have to get the information that you need and the training in order to do that. My poem is Don't Quit. And it goes this way. When things go wrong, as they sometimes will, when the road you're trudging is all uphill, when the funds are low and your debts are high and you want to cry, smile, but you have to sigh. When care is pressing you down a bit, rest if you must, but don't you quit. For life is queer with its twists and turns, as every one of us will someday learn. And many a failure turn about that might have won if they'd stuck it out. Success is just failure turned inside out, the silver tint of the cloud of doubt. And you never know how close you are. You may be near when it seems so far. So stick to the fight when your heart is hit. It's when things seem worse that you must not quit. May light, love, and laughter always follow you on the path. Karen, as always, I thank you for being here to support me. I thank all of those who are listening to the replay. Thank you very much. And for those who have stayed with us, thank you so much. In the room, know those people who are listening on replay, you can always join us here at Blab if you have questions and jump in and ask those. So have a blessed day.
Bye for now.